What's up, everybody? Saigan here. So Borg and I were having this discussion, and this is going to be kind of an interesting Quester's Rest because it's not like an update of any kind. Um, those of you who are familiar with the stream, Borg and I argue a lot about games, what's been good, what's been bad. I've been playing the Devil's Advocate recently because he was talking shit about the PS1. And I feel that the PS1 gets kind of a weird deal because the PS1 is kind of the start of an evil empire. An evil empire that does have some excellent games on it, but the start of an evil empire nonetheless. We're going to mute that because Borg is chatty. Love you, Borg. So one of Borg's problems with the PS1 is that its games just weren't as good as other systems that were out at the time. He was curious about, why the Saturn failed when all of its games are so much better. Well, the problem is Saturn was way more expensive. It was way more expensive, not just to purchase a console, but also to develop games on. The PlayStation 1 cost half the price of a Saturn when it came out, maybe less than half the price, and it was super cheap to develop games on. Now, this meant a couple of things. Sega had really good quality control on the Saturn. The Saturn has an amazing library of games, and 9 out of 10 games on the Saturn are totally worth picking up. PlayStation, not so much. 9 out of 10 games on the PlayStation are shit. Here's the interesting thing, though. Because of the difference in volume of games, both systems have about the same number of amazing titles. And I was running down a list here for him because there's a lot of PlayStation 1 amazing games that have a lot of heart and soul to them, and people just ignored them for the AAA titles that they were told to purchase. There was Tombaugh, Heart of Darkness, Abe's Odyssey, Silhouette Mirage, Galarians, MDK, Ghost in the Shell, Gunner's Heaven, Gundam Battle Assault, Pocket Fighter, Tobal, and that's not even including the RPGs. We all know that the PlayStation had a lot of RPGs. So during this conversation, Borg wanted me to go through a list and pick my favorite console of each generation. Now, this list is divided up into 8 generations. There's the first generation, which consists of the Magnavox Odyssey. It was the first home video game console. I think that I'm going to have to give the victory to the Magnavox Odyssey. The second generation of game consoles, and I'm going to include this list down below, included, and this is for the systems that were released between 76 and 83, includes the Fairchild Channel F, which I have heard of. I've never played one. The Fairchild Channel F2, the RCA Studio 2, the Atari 2600, the Bally Astrocade, the VC4000, the Magnavox Odyssey 2, the Intellivision, the VTech Creative Vision, the Epic Cassette Vision, the Arcadia 2001, the Atari 5200, the ColecoVision, and the Vectrix. Now, there's 4 here that I think are really important to mention. The 2600, the Intellivision, the ColecoVision, and the Vectrix. I've played ColecoVision, I've played Intellivision, I've played Atari 2600. I've never gotten to play a Vectrix, and it really bothers me because I imagine that I'd be blown away by it. So I can't choose that one. Being fair as my favorite, I have to stick with the ones that I think are best. And I'm going to have to say that the ColecoVision wins out. ColecoVision had some really, really cool stuff on it. Bump and Jump. Bump and Jump was really good. Whatever the tank battle one was. Most of the ColecoVision games I've tried, I've actually enjoyed. So I'm going to give the second generation victory to ColecoVision. The third generation. Now, this is where most people see retro gaming as having started. This was the generation that saved video games. the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Atari 7800, the Sega Master System, the Super Cassette Vision, the PV-1000, and the Action Max. Now, I haven't played any of the last three. The NES, the 7800, and the Master System are all great systems. I have very minimal experience with the 7800, so I can't really compare it against the Master System and the NES. This is hard. This is hard because the NES saved gaming. It was out 2 years before the Master System, and it has a phenomenal library. However, the Master System had HuCard support. Was it HuCards? I forget what they were called. But it had support for both the cartridge games and the cheaper card games that you may be familiar with if you've seen things like the TurboGrafx also had game cards. And Master System had both cartridge and that. Master System also had 3D games. There was stuff like Space Harrier had 3D support. There were 3D glasses that you could get for it, and you could play the games in 3D. The library was also really good. I mean, it's not as appreciated here in the US as it is appreciated in other parts of the world. It's too close to call. I can't choose. I can't choose between the NES and the Master System. They're both fantastic systems. The NES was out 2 years earlier, has a bigger library. There's a lot of shit in there, but it does have a bigger library. It does have fantastic games. The Master System has fantastic games. I can't choose between the two of them. So I'm going to give the third generation as a tie between the NES and the Master System. Fourth generation, covering the years between 87 and 95. The TurboGrafx 16, the Sega Genesis, the Neo Geo CD, the SNES, and the CDI. I have actually played all of these. The only one that I don't have is that stupid CDI, which, by the way, had some interesting stuff on it. The CDI was the first system that I played Alone in the Dark on. The original Alone in the Dark was on that. That's one of the 2 games that I played on the CDI. Is it on the CDI? I might be thinking of the wrong system. Am I thinking of... It was on the 3DO. Ignore me. I have not played a CDI. The CDI was what those terrible Zelda games came out on. I'm not aware of the CDI getting any good games, so we'll just knock that one off. Everyone, of course, knows the SNES and the Genesis. That battle's been raging for a long time. Excellent, excellent titles on both of those. I would still give... If you wanted RPGs, the SNES was probably the safer system to go with. It's not that the Sega Genesis didn't have RPGs. In fact, the Sega Genesis had amazing RPGs, but it didn't have as many amazing RPGs as the Super Nintendo. Ignoring the RPG genre, I would have to give it to the Sega Genesis. Now, if you wanted arcade gameplay, the TurboGrafx has some amazing, amazing games on it. And easily stands next to the Genesis and the SNES. All of this is moot, however, because they're being compared against the Neo Geo, and the Neo Geo is the clear winner of that time. The only thing that held the Neo Geo back from being successful as a home console was the stupid price. But it was arcade perfect because it was built with the same parts. It was the perfect system to own. And I have to say that having a Neo Geo in my garage, it was a dream growing up. And once I achieved that dream, I'm so happy that I can just go out to my garage and have an arcade experience whenever I want. It's beautiful. Fourth generation definitely belongs to the Neo Geo. The Nintendo and Sega Genesis Sega fans, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Neo Geo. Fifth generation. This is where people started realizing that video games were picking up again. This is where everybody was like, oh, we can compete. Yeah, we can totally compete. The fifth generation, by this list, covers 93 to 99. There is the Pioneer Laser Active, which, if you haven't seen a Pioneer Laser Active, this is actually kind of a weird system because it included support for the Genesis and PC Engine TurboGrafx games, and also the PC Engine CD-ROMs. This thing cost way too much. When you're competing with the Neo Geo for price, you've gone too high. And this system was just a complete and total failure. There were laser active games on it. Nothing I've heard of that was any good. So we're definitely kicking that out. The FM Towns Marty. Never played, can't judge. The Atari Jaguar. The only good game I'm aware of that was available on the Jaguar was Aliens vs. Predator. And I honestly cannot think of anything else. I've never heard a good word spoken about the Jaguar, if I'm honest. The PlayStation, the Saturn, the 3DO, the Nintendo 64, the Amiga 32, never played, gotta throw that out. The PC FX, never played, gotta throw that out. The Apple Bandai Pippin. This sounds familiar. I think I might have played one before, but I also believe that I blocked the memory out. So who knows? So it's between the PlayStation, which was really affordable. It was cheap for people to develop on, had a large library of games, often at lower prices. The Sega Saturn. Amazing hardware, way too costly for the time, although it was notably cheaper than a Neo Geo AES. I love the Saturn, I really do. The 3DO, I only played 2 games on it. I played some kind of puzzle game. There were pandas and bamboo involved. I can't remember what it is. And then there was also Alone in the Dark, which was fascinating to me because it was the first survival horror that I'd really touched. But I lack any experience with that, so I have to throw it out. Nintendo 64. Oh man, the Nintendo 64 was a beast. It also came out 2 years after the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. So it had kind of a running start. It introduced Rumble feature. It had 4 ports built into it for multiplayer. I was not actually aware that Saturn was going to be competing with Nintendo 64 on this list. That's tough. I love my Saturn. I love my Saturn so much. But I think as a family growing up, the Nintendo 64, it got such a huge amount of playtime. It also revolutionized how 3D games are done. Mario 64 was the first time that 3D platforming had been done really well. Like PlayStation, yeah, PlayStation had Crash and it had Spyro, and they were okay. They were competent. But Mario 64 got it right. And then Zelda, Ocarina of Time came out and nailed the adventure genre. Mario Kart 64 GoldenEye, which, by the way, is a superior game to Half-Life. Yes, I'm being honest. It came out beforehand. Half-Life did some interesting things, but I actually think that GoldenEye is even a superior game. But Perfect Dark is even better than GoldenEye. I would have to say that the Nintendo 64 wins. It was robust. It was really robust. And having 4 controller ports just built right into it was great for having friends over. So much multiplayer fun on the Nintendo 64. And also, thanks to its lower price than the Saturn, it was really easy to trade games with people a lot of people had the 64, so you were never short on controllers for playing GoldenEye or Mario Kart. I got to give it to the Nintendo 64. Generation 6. This was a hefty generation. The Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, and the Xbox. They were all really good systems. Holy crap, they were all really good systems. And they all have an amazing selection of titles on them. This one's just close across the board. See, if I'm wearing my nostalgia glasses, I would just say the Dreamcast. But I don't think that that's appropriate. The Xbox brought us Xbox Live. It had 4 ports. So did the GameCube. GameCube was just fundamentally missing online support. There was a broadband adapter. There's a 56K adapter for Phantasy Star, which I played. The broadband adapter could be used to system link Mario Kart Double Dash. It did introduce the world to Smash Bros. Melee, which is still being played competitively on a worldwide level today. The Xbox introduced the world to Halo and Xbox Live and good online gaming through a console and easy online gaming. Even playing PC games online at the time was not a simple process. If you weren't a computer person, it wasn't something that you could just do. There was a lot of stuff that you had to set up. Not the case with Xbox Live. PlayStation 2 had, again, PlayStation's RPGs, so many RPGs. Good fighting games, too, actually. The fighting games on the PS2 were fantastic. It's so hard to choose. Out of the ones that I played the most, and kicking out the Dreamcast, it would definitely be between the GameCube or the Xbox, as far as time played. I can't pick. It's another tie. It's between the GameCube and the Xbox. The 7th generation of consoles. The Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Wii. This one's actually really simple for me. The Xbox 360. I have a massive pile of games that I have put plenty of hours into on the Xbox 360. The PlayStation 3, yes, I own, yes, I play games on. The selection of games that appealed to me on the PS3 was limited. I think I have less than 10 games for the PS3. And I have more than 30 for the Xbox 360. The Wii had really good games on it, but not enough games instead of toys. That's not to say that there weren't amazing gamer-oriented titles on the Wii. And it did bring a lot of cool experiences into the home. Like with Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. The Wii was great for light gun games. But there was too much shovelware and too much focus on the gimmick of having motion controls. And that gimmick is one of the things that also drove me away from the Zelda franchise, because I really did not care much for Skyward Sword. The motion controls just were not there yet. The idea is solid. Motion controls aren't where we need them to be yet for swordplay in video games, I'm definitely going to say the 360. Totally the 360. And the 8th generation of video games. The Wii U, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. It's not the Xbox One. It is not yet the PlayStation 4. Currently, in my home, my favorite is going to have to be the Wii U. The boys are upstairs right now playing Mario together. Mario Maker is fantastic because it's something that we can play as a family, switching off, and it also encourages a lot of artistic and creative behavior. It's like new age Legos. I really like the Wii U. The first party games on the system are absolutely fantastic. And I'm not seeing that kind of quality from the Xbox One and the PS4 yet. There's good stuff on them. I have enjoyed everything that I've played on the PS4, and I've enjoyed half of what I played on the Xbox One, but the Xbox One just continues to be a letdown. Really expensive letdown. The PS4, I picked it up because Dragon Quest Heroes was coming out, and also because Skullgirl's Second Encore was going to be coming to it with fully voice-acted scenes. And, you know, Street Fighter V was also going to be coming out on it. I haven't had a bad experience with the PS4 yet. It's actually been a great system. My first Xbox One didn't even work. It wouldn't even power on. Out of the box, out of the fresh plastic, peeled off the skin, and it was DOA. The PS4, though, has been a solid system. I think it's really good. And I think that over time, the PS4 will wind up being the better system than the Wii U, but right now it doesn't have the same library that the Wii U does for me and my family. So that's it. That's the list. I hope I didn't bore you. How long did this video turn out? 22 minutes. Not my longest Quester's Rest. So, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm your host, Saigan. I will be playing Dragon Quest X tonight on my Twitch channel. Link is below. Should be hanging out with Mary and Ashes again. I don't know if Crane is going to be there. I think Crane has other things to deal with tonight, which is a shame. But we're going to be getting up to the new level cap, which is now 90. So, thanks for watching. Hope to see you there. And everybody have a lovely evening. Saigan out.